Kentucky basketball falls to Texas A&M on the road, and while A&M's guards did go off in this contest, I can't help but feel like Kentucky kind of beat themselves on the defensive end.
You are Locked On Kentucky, your daily podcast on the Kentucky Wildcats, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, what's going on, Big Blue Nation? Welcome on into Locked On Kentucky, your daily Kentucky Wildcats podcast. I'm your host, Lance Dawe, writer for Sports Illustrated for various SEC-related things. But on this podcast, we take a dive into all things Kentucky athletics. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. You can make every moment more, and right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn to get started. On today's episode of Locked On Kentucky, we are going to be recapping Kentucky basketball's 97-92 loss to the Texas A&M Aggies, higher scoring than I anticipated on our preview episode, some things that were uncharacteristic that happened for both squads in this contest. Going to talk about the good, the bad, kind of what happened here, and give my thoughts moving forward, because at the end of the day, it's not that I don't feel like this loss is the end of the world for several reasons. Thank you so much for making Locked On Kentucky your first listen every single day. I want to remind everyone out there that we are free and available on all platforms. If you're watching on YouTube, please subscribe to the show. If you're listening on podcast, I would also appreciate it if you subbed there as well. So let's go ahead and get into it. Kentucky loses to Texas A&M 97-92 in overtime. Wildcats get outscored 3-8 in the extra period. Did not make a field goal for those final 5 minutes of play. Really painful loss for the Wildcats, who did some things that I expected them to do on the offensive end of the floor. I thought Kentucky could find some success from beyond the arc against A&M, and they did do that throughout the contest. But at the end of the day, their defense and their inability to capitalize at the free throw line kind of held them out of this one. First thing I want to get to here is about the goaltend in the first half that the officials called as a goaltend, and then Kentucky had those points taken away from them after a review at the monitor. Some people were very upset about that. I was upset about it. I don't think that's what lost Kentucky this game. Obviously, those 2 points, if they had been on the scoreboard at the end of regulation, Kentucky would have won that game. But also, I don't think if Kentucky had those 2 points, we would have gotten that outcome at the end of regulation. I don't know if Kentucky would have won by more, if they would have lost somehow, if Texas A&M had played things differently, having been down by 2 more points than they were at whatever point. Yada. Point being, Kentucky's defense is what kept them out of this one, because Texas A&M does 2 things really, really well. We noted that in the preview episode. They grab a lot of offensive rebounds, and then off of that, they get to the foul line. And A&M was able to do that in this contest. Now, were they able to capitalize at the free throw line? No, actually. And that's one of the reasons maybe Kentucky should have lost this one in regulation. But Texas A&M on offense was able to get second chance points, 21 of them, as opposed to Kentucky's 20, which kind of offsets, right? We're not here to talk about second chance points necessarily. It's the fact that they got those extra possessions there at the end of the game that kept Kentucky from getting an extra possession, possibly on offense, giving them a chance to tie or take the lead. At various points throughout this game, you saw that. You could not, I think, have drawn up a more perfect offense for the Kentucky Wildcats to give them in an individual season to make a run in the NCAA tournament. This offense is very good. We're going to talk about the positives too. But that defense is some of the worst that I've seen out of Kentucky in a while. It was not good. Their awareness, whenever a shot went up, was frankly embarrassing. The rotations on defense, they got lost a lot It led to a lot of open three-pointers and a lot of open shots. Their inability to protect the rim against Texas A&M at times was very frustrating. It does not matter that Kentucky had 9 blocks in this one and Hugo was a force down low. Other players could not stop Tyrece Radford and Wade Taylor. And those were the two guys for Texas A&M. Those were the two guys that finished with double-digit scoring, period. And they went for 28 and 31 apiece. The defense, I've said, I hope gets better. I'd like to see it get better. I expect it to statistically get better. This game is a setback. This game is a step in the wrong direction. Kentucky does not know how to play good defense right now. Right now, I'm not saying period, I'm saying right now. That was a poor showing. That was a very poor showing on the defensive end. Tyrece Radford and Wade Taylor, like I mentioned, both monsters in this game. Wade Taylor shot only 7 of 24 from the floor, which we noted. He's an inefficient player, but he gets his points. 6 of those 7 shots were made from beyond the arc. A couple of them late, and I've continued to say with Kentucky's losses, I want to say over like the last year and a half, most of them in games that Kentucky is competitive, either winning, tied, or again, like just close in, there is a random spurt of three-pointers that the team makes, whether they be open or tough shots, that are just bam, 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 game's over. Congratulations, screw you, you lost. Just like you fought all the way to the end, and you don't have the clutch gene. We saw against North Carolina, R.J. Davis make a couple of what the crap is going on threes. And then Kentucky was able to respond. They were able to get things done on offense. And this one could not do that enough. Wade Taylor hitting those pair of three-pointers and then going 11 of 12 at the freaking free throw line was painful. Tyrece Radford, really good player, could not make his free throws. Honestly, could have ended this one in regulation. He had 9 rebounds and 4 assists to go with his 28 points, was 11 of 22 from the floor. 11 of 22. Those two guys took 46 of Texas A&M's 82 shots, which, by the way, they only took 82 shots because they grabbed, wait for it, 25 offensive rebounds. 25 of their 54 rebounds were on offense. Kentucky just has to be better. They've got to be better on the defensive end. And I don't know where that comes from. I don't know how they get there. But they've got to. They've got to figure that out. Because in this one, it was not working at all. It was embarrassing. Your defense, your inability to rebound. I think that Kentucky could have been better in the clutch in this game. Thank you, Rob Dillingham, for those 9 straight points to give Kentucky an opportunity to take this one to overtime. And thank you to Reed Sheppard for grabbing that rebound and hitting those 2 free throws. Unfortunately, Kentucky in OT and Kentucky at the end of regulation also had a couple of dumb turnovers that put them in that position to, instead of take the lead, have to try and tie it. Again, Kentucky could have been better in this game. I want to talk a little bit more about the positives. At the end of the day, while this loss individually is frustrating, and it does spell long-term problems on the defensive end, which could still go away, I think that there are some individual performances that we need to highlight and praise. So before I do that, though, I want to tell you guys about our friends over at FanDuel. The NFL regular season is wrapping up, but there is still time to get in on the action with FanDuel, America's #1 sports book, because right now new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 money line bet. That's $150 win or lose in bonus bets. The app is super easy to use, and there are so many different ways to bet, like live same-game parlays, find bets in the new Explore tab over on FanDuel. You can also make a parlay in the Parlay Hub, which is the best place to find all of the different parlays popular parlays that you may want to check out. There's more on top of that, so you need to visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and make your first bet a layup. That is FanDuel, an official partner of the NFL. All right, continuing along here on the Saturday edition of Locked On Kentucky. Lance Dawe hanging out here with you. If you have not subscribed to the show already, I would really appreciate it if you went ahead and did that. If you're listening on podcast, again, I would really appreciate it if you subbed there as well. So Wade Taylor, Tyrece Radford, the guys that kind of went off for Texas A&M, they were pretty much the reasons that Texas A&M was able to win this game, them just having incredible first halves and then being able to kind of clutch things out at the very end. Antonio Reeves did not shy away from the moment in this one. He had 22 points on 7 of 15 shooting, went 5 of 10 from beyond the arc, also had 6 rebounds to go along with that. We said in the preview episode, listen, you cannot afford for Antonio Reeves to go out quietly in this one, to go out, shoot a bunch of shots, and be very ineffective from the field. You have to be able to match their guard play and then excel past it, which I thought Kentucky was going to be able to do. As a whole, I thought Kentucky's guard play was going to be better than what Texas A&M put out there. And we ended up being wrong. Wade Taylor just ended up making 6 threes, which, again, he normally doesn't do. So props to Reeves, props to DJ Wagner, who is inefficient from beyond the arc, which is typical because with that shot form, he's going to leave tons of shots short as he has this season. He's going to continue to do it. He's not going to fix it. That's what I think makes him less of an NBA guard than Rob Dillingham, but we don't have to talk about that right now. We can talk about the fact that he played some solid defense out there at times, had 4 assists for the Wildcats as well. Kentucky's got dogs in their backcourt. Wagner's one of them. While he can't shoot an outside shot consistently because of that form, I think that he had a good game, and he's put together a string of really solid games here recently. Just have to hope that he doesn't completely fall apart, which I don't expect him to. Sheppard, again, free throw line, clutch. Also missed a couple of really important free throws, was 4 of 6 from the charity stripe. 3 of 5 from the floor in this game. All of them were threes. Had 4 personal fouls, 6 rebounds, 3 assists. Also a very clutch steal at one point in this second half. Ugonna Onyenso, how about the performance from him in 31 minutes of play at 7 points and 10 rebounds? Reason he had to play was Aaron Bradshaw was in foul trouble almost every single time that he stepped out onto the court. So the guards for Kentucky played well. Rob Dillingham, 6 of 15 from the floor, 15 points, had 4 assists. The 3 of 10 from 3. Again, you play the way that you have statistically up until this point in the season. Rob Dillingham or Trey Mitchell combined, you get an extra 3 out of both of them. Kentucky probably wins this game. Again, performing in the clutch. Would love to see it. It did not happen today. Maybe it'll happen in the future in SEC play. Speaking of Trey Mitchell, 3 of 13 from the floor, had 13 rebounds, 6 assists in 44 minutes of play. He, as an individual, finished with a plus-minus of -5, which was right around the average for the Wildcats in this game. 3 of 13, though. Woo! That's not what you want to see out of your starting power forward, formerly your starting center. Just not good. Would have liked to have seen some more shots go down for Trey Mitchell in this one. 1 of 6 from beyond the arc. Again, just you expect him. You expect more out of these guys. Statistically, only shot 42% from the floor. That's what Texas A&M does to people. They rough them up. They're really physical around the rim. Everything was tough to come by. Kentucky hit some tough shots in this game. They also missed a lot of shots around the rim. It is what it is. They also went 13 of 21 from the foul line, which, again, you shoot better, you probably win this game, but also Texas A&M could have shot a lot better. So just a lot of things that neither of these teams did particularly well in this contest. But I'll say this. It took a 3 of 13 shooting performance from your starting power forward. It took 25 offensive rebounds, which I don't know if there's a lot of teams that are going to do that to Kentucky again this season. It took a combined almost 60 points. 60 of those 97, almost 60 points from their 2 lead guards to win this game. And it took overtime. Took a road game. Kentucky, while they may currently stink on defense, just abysmal on defense, they do have, again, a really good offense. Really good offense. And they have an opportunity to win some games here over these next few weeks against maybe some less difficult competition. I mean, you don't want to look away from South Carolina and Arkansas on back-to-back road trips because those are going to be tough. And then you've got Tennessee looming on February 3rd. But this was a rough one. This was tough. And hopefully this is something that Kentucky adjusts from. They just defensively just can't put it together. Can't put it together right now. Maybe they will soon. All right. I think that's going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Kentucky. If you've got any thoughts on how this game went, if you've got any thoughts on Kentucky's defense, about their guard play as opposed to Texas A&M's, you can leave that in the comments below. Kentucky's really difficult to beat, man. They're a really good team, but they're going to get the best of every other opponent. And Texas A&M, who is not a good shooting team and came into this game having scored 53 and 55 points in their two SEC opening contests, scores 97 at home. Season high 97 points. And a team that normally shoots 26% from beyond the arc shot 37.5 and made 12 three-pointers, half of which came from their lead guard, who shoots 26% as well from the beyond the arc. Sometimes it takes a borderline miracle. Kentucky's going to get punched in the mouth by a lot of different teams on the road. They responded against Florida. They couldn't respond today. We said this was going to be a loss heading into the SEC slate, and it ended up being just that. So, again, I think that's going to do it for today's episode. You can follow the show on Twitter at LockedOnUK. You can follow me on Twitter at Lance_. Follow the show on Instagram at Kentucky Podcast. Any questions, comments, concerns, leave those in the YouTube comments below. Hit me on the socials. I will see you all on Monday for another episode of Locked On Kentucky. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and God bless.